Welcome, dear students. The current session is on the features of Australian English. I hope and expect by the end of this session, you would be able to understand the distinctive features of Australian variety of English and how these features make Australian English different from other varieties of English, such as American English and British English. Well, my dear students, the vocabulary of Australian English tends to be far more colloquial and informal when we compare it with other varieties of English. Stereotypical words like Aussie, that is, a colloquial or informal form for the very name of Australia itself, is an example of that. Many more expressions are found in Australian English language that are very informal and colloquial. In fact, Australian English is full of imaginative, colorful, and fun expressions. I would show you a few of these on the screen. I think most of these would be new for you. Look at the first expression, full as a goog. Full as a goog. Goog means egg, and actually the expression is informally used for a dead drunk person. Look at another example, hoon, and also yobo. These expressions are used for loutish youth. There are many more examples. An example is of the word ochre, which is used for an uncultivated or uncivilized Australian man. Another term that is very frequently used in Australian English in informal ways of use is the word prang. Prang actually means a minor car accident. Sanga or sanga is used for a sandwich, by the way. An interesting example here is of the word Sheila, which means girl. I hope you would be able to relate to certain songs in the subcontinent where the word Sheila is used. So, now you can understand where the word comes from and what does it mean. An expression, a beaut Sheila, would mean a beautiful or an attractive girl. In fact, in Australian English, typical Australian colloquial expressions tend to shorten the words. So right now, the example that I've given you of a beaut Sheila, their beaut actually means beautiful, but it is used in informal language as an abbreviated or shortened form. In fact, in Australian English, if you look at all those words that have O endings or Y endings, for example, arvo or tenny, you would see these are all the abbreviated forms, rather I would say shortened forms that are used for certain words. So arvo stands for afternoon, whereas tenny is used for a small can of beer. My dear students, when the Australian settlers came upon the new flora and fauna of Australian context, in fact, they needed certain new expressions. I hope you know the history of Australian English and how it was planted here. In fact, it for the first time came through the British settlers who came to Australia and settled here. So now, when they came from the Great Britain, along with them, they brought English language, but also, they brought their own culture and their own traditions and their own values. The traditions and the culture and the lifestyle was completely different from what they experienced in Australia. Now, to cope with this new, culture, this new imagery, this new landscape, and everything that they found in the surroundings, of course, they needed to borrow words from local Australian languages. The result was that a lot of new expressions, they became a part of the language of these British English speakers, and gradually they became a part of that. Later on, this is what developed as Australian variety of English. This inclusion of words from local languages of Australia into the Australian English is so much that today we have 10,000 English words and phrases in standard English, the English that is used worldwide, and now these all expressions or words have become a part of it. Some examples of Australianisms. Australianisms, by the way, the term is used for all those words in English that are globally understood and used, but they have their origin in Australia. They are derived somewhere from some of the Australian native languages. So, there are various dictionaries such as the Australian Oxford Dictionary, etc. They have included a lot of such words in standard English. Here you have some examples on the screen. Again, using abbreviations, Barbie. Barbie is used for barbecue, that we write like this, or like this, or like this. But, this E form is used to give it a shortened form. Again, bush. The word is used for uncultivated expanse of land remote from settlement, as in bush nurse, bush breakfast, bush house, bushman, etc. Good day. Notice this one. Good day. Good day is an abbreviated shortened form that is used for good day. That is an expression for greeting or for departing during the day. Another interesting example of how words, their formation, and their meaning change, from one area to other, I would like to give the example of lay-by. In Australian English, lay-by means buying an article on time payment. What we call in UK English hiring on, hire purchase, where you give it in installments. In US English, actually, we call it installments. It is very interesting that the meaning of lay-by is completely different in UK English. In the British English, actually lay-by is an area where, on a highway or on a motorway, a rest area is made, where you can go off the road for a while and you can have some rest there. So, this is how, a divergent variety of Australian English exists with its distinctive features that differentiate it from any other variety of English, especially the British and the American varieties of English.